every time I see a piece by NFL Films these days, I can't help but think of Bob Angelo. Since we've had Bob on the show a couple times, I think of him all the time.
Well, it is great. He's a great cameraman, a super guy, and heck, he wrote the book, Bill, the NFL Off Camera. So let's bring him on.
Let's welcome Bob Angelo back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Bob, welcome,
Hello.
my friend.
There he is.
How are you guys?
Hello,
Good.
Bob. Man, we got so much to talk about. We could talk about the NFL in general, but we got to talk about the Eagles and the recent resurgence. They've looked like an actual pro football team the last couple of weeks, especially, Sunday beating a decent Cincinnati team that's better than their record. They demolished them. A nice 37-17 win. Is this the real Eagles now that we're seeing?
Well, let me gain some intelligence here.
Hey, Bob, I have to tell you, Chet was falling into the hater wagon. He was
I
about
was
to jump.
not.
Here's the thing.
Jump.
I'm going to start where it needs to start from my perspective, and that is with Vic Fangio's defense. Fangio invented cover 6, and he's a master at cover 4 and 8. It takes a while for older guys to catch on to that. Kids coming in from college, they can pick up on it right away because, hey, let's face it, Nick Saban's been doing this stuff, and other coaches have been doing this kind of stuff at the collegiate level for years. Finally, last week, we saw some evidence. Now, beating the hell out of the Browns and out of the Giants defensively, yeah. Coming back after that miserable first quarter against the Bengals offense, ranked 9th coming in, seeing what I saw, I said, they're getting it. They're getting it. And I don't want to poop on Darius Slay because Darius Slay has been an outstanding football player for a long time. But he's in his 30s.
Yep.
And Isaiah Rodgers is 26. I like to see younger men in that secondary. Did you see the play they made? I'm sure you've talked about it. Great freaking play. DeGene Cooper, he's on his way to being an all-pro in his second season. Not this year. He's only 21 years old.
Right.
And, of course, the number 1 draft pick, he leads the team in passes defended going in and coming out of last weekend. I like what I see in the secondary. Nolan Smith's recent statistics as a pass rusher, encouraging. Still not sold on the big men up there from Georgia. And, hey, the 2 linebackers used to be a weakness for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Leading the team in tackles. They're leading there's one of them. I mean, this dude he was a pass rusher
There's the other.
He was a pass rusher in New Orleans. They had him out of position. No wonder the Saints are, tanking it this year and on their way on a treadmill to oblivion. Eagles, on the other hand, they fit him in the right spot. Fangio eventually will get the people he needs in the right spot to play those complex split field zone pattern match coverages. And once he gets that in place with younger men, they're going to be tough on that side of the ball. Offensively, well, Lane Johnson called them constipated a week or so ago. And they have been. And do they have an identity? Not sure yet. They remind me of Dave Kingman. Dave Kingman hit about 230 every year, but every now and then he'd hit a 490-foot home run, and people talk about it all week. The Eagles look like they were that big play offense. All of a sudden now, Saquon Barkley has demonstrated that I can carry this team if you let me. I'm only 27 years old. I'm finally someplace where there are offensive linemen in front of me who I can call real football players getting the job done. And I'm throwing kudos out to Steen and to Johnson at right guard and left tackle for the job that they've done recently. And, Saquon Barkley is 1 pass reception away from the Eagles only having 1 loss this year. Right. So bottom line, what a big game. Now, I was sitting here, like probably you, Chet, on Sunday with my buddy who comes over to watch the game every week, Rob Rearies. Rob sat down with us. We watched that first quarter, and we said, why can't you guys get off the field on 3rd down? This went on and on and on, and then it ceased. And after it went away, the Bengals couldn't do squat. One of the biggest plays of the game, Cooper to Gene, fourth in the season maybe for Cincinnati, and DeJean drew a straight line through Jamar Chase. Wham! On the ground, game over. That was the key play in that game. Up until that point, Bengals still in it. Cooper DeJean, 21 years old, fellas. 21 years old, out of Iowa. He used to kill Penn State. I hated him. Hated him. But anyway, Eagles are going this way.
Hey, Bob. The last three games, as we talked about, maybe not the toughest opponents to deal with, but the Eagles management, constipated, whatever you want to call it, turned into running the football. What we've asked for years. They're now the number one rushing team per attempts in the league, and it's working. With that said, I think this week Doug Peterson comes to town. They're going to load the box up. They're going to adjust to that. They're not going to sit there and get run on, and the Eagles better be ready to adjust and throw the ball around a little bit.
I think they are going to have to throw a bit against the Jaguars, but then everybody else has, so why shouldn't the Eagles be able to do it? Right? AJ can play. Devontae can play. The key to me is just get them the ball. Why does it have to be so damned complicated? Why does it always have to be an RPO or a 7-step drop where Jalen has to stand there and figure out what's going on down there? Why not just give the ball to Devontae in the flat? Why not just let AJ run a quick slant, put the ball in his hands, let him run with it? Yak, yards after catch. That guy right there is as good in that statistical category as everybody in football except possibly the 49ers receivers. He's a big, strong dude who looks like Terrell Owens, and when he's got the ball and safety see him coming, they're not thinking, ooh, goody. They're thinking, this is one big SOB I got to get on the ground. Devontae, how many times now recently have we seen an underneath crossing route where he catches the ball and wins a game? He did that 2 weeks ago. Last week, again, underneath catching the ball on a power out route twice. He picked up big yards after the catch. Yak. Great stat. Eagles receivers can do it if they have the ball in their hands. But if it takes an eternity for Jalen to figure out who the hell's open on any given play and work his way around pass rush that's sneaking in after about 7 seconds, sorry, I'm exaggerating. But you've got about 3 seconds to get the ball out, Jalen. You're not playing against the Idaho School for the Blind. You're playing against NFL coverages. Get the ball out because the pass rush is coming and your guys can't hold up forever. To me, the key to the rest of this season is Jalen Hurts learning Kellen Moore's offense. And please let it be Kellen Moore's offense and not Nick Sirianni.
Yes.
Let it be Kellen's offense that he learns. Motion, pre-snap motion, change, by changing the power side of the formation. Move defenders around, understand what you're looking at. Don't come out of the huddle, Jalen, knowing where you want to throw the ball and then force it in there when it's not there. Observe what you see pre-snap. See what you see with the motion telling you, is it man or zone, or is it a split field coverage, zone on one side, man on the other? Is it 2-by-1, blah, blah, blah. Figure it out and then make a better judgment by reading it down, up, or up, down, whichever way you're supposed to go. Because if you put the ball in your playmakers' hands, you're going to win games.
Bob, all the Eagles talk got me excited and convinced me to go put my Devontae Smith Kelly Green jersey on because this Sunday happens to be Kelly Green weekend. The Eagles going to wear their Kelly Green for that game against the Jaguars. I'm excited about that. I want to ask you something else, though. Today happens to be the birthday of the legendary Dick Vermeil. He is 88 years young today. He was just a kid of, 85 when he went into the Hall of Fame. What's your favorite Dick Vermeil memory?
Oh, God, so many. When Steve Sable got that great shot with Leonard Toews hanging on him, on Vermeil after a game, and Dick just tearing up. I mean, one of the 150 times that Dick teared up in a locker room or, at a press conference. But Dick was an emotional man, and I love that. My wife makes fun of me for tearing up watching Westerns, when it has a happy ending, or Superman when he flies a girl around the world. But I love that about the guy. it mattered to him. That moment, and it was interesting what got cut out at the end, which I can't say on this show, I'm pretty sure. But, of course, Leonard had a little potty mouth sometimes. And he said, we showed those blankers, didn't we? And, of course, we never got to that. But that moment was one of many with Dick. I think one of the best was probably when he was a St. Louis Rams head coach, and they won that Super Bowl. And he was carrying his granddaughter around on his shoulders. I shot some of that. And, again, that was Dick's way of saying, see, wasn't washed up. Whatever her name was, here I am. And that, of course, he was out of football, 15 years?
Yeah.
When he came back to St. Louis. Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that moment. Watching Dick, one of his last game, probably his last game in Kansas City. I forget the name of the dude, little black dude, wide receiver type, kick returner, lightning quick. Walked over to Dick before the game and gave him a hug and just, thank you. Thank you for being my coach. Thank you for the things you taught me about winning and being a man and blah, blah, blah. I mean, Dick touched people. And there he is. That is what he deserved for his 3 teams, 2 Super Bowl appearances and victories. One victory. He lost the last one with the Raiders, but Dick coached his guys to death. He worked them to death. As I wrote in my book, The NFL Off Camera, sometimes his players said, wait a minute, whoa, back it down, man. Back it down. We're in a Super Bowl here. We don't need to go back to 2-a-days, training camp. He learned. Dick evolved. And thus his longevity, thus his inclusion now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Well, hey, Bob, we're hitting November 1st here. We're coming up on Christmas. Chet has your book. I've read your book. Plug it. Tell us about it.
Well, I didn't do much for book sales this year because I just didn't. Temple University Press did a great job getting it out there. But, after a while, they started moving on to other authors, other topics. I went to a fire pit party in my neighborhood couple of weeks ago. And I explained to 2 of the women there, a mom and her daughter, that I'd written a book. And they said, really? Tell me about it. I told them. They pulled it up online. They bought 2 copies. And I just got the notification on my banking statement, whatever that payment is, $4.07 for 2 books. Yeah, I'm living well this weekend. But I'm going to an event in Burlington County Chamber of Commerce here in New Jersey. I'm going to an event in November, and apparently someone's going to be there with a pile of books and help me sell those things. And I will sign them if anybody shows up, and they're still available. Anybody who wants to buy the thing, it's real simple. Go online, just type in the NFL Off Camera, just those words, and it'll come up right away. And then I can get another $2.03 every time you buy one.
It's really good. Really, really good.
So, Bob, for the people that weren't with us when you were on before, your book, it's an accumulation of short stories from your time working at NFL Films. Explain that just a little bit for anybody that might want to buy this, because it's a great book.
Well, I wrote it, and I kept calling it a bathroom book or a toilet book. And my wife, Barbara, by the way, Barb says hello, Chet.
Hey,
Barb said, no, it's not a toilet book. It's not a bathroom book. It's a coffee table book. When I was on NFL's Good Morning Football, they giggled at it. They thought it was hilarious. But my concept was football fans consume football in long, extended periods of time, 3 to 3.5 hours to watch their favorite team. Their fantasy teams have to prepare for the draft. You have to put your roster in every single week. You've got to be on top of trades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure that you know who's playing against whom, what your best matchups are. All that takes time. I wanted to write something that people could get into and be done with in 5 minutes or less. No story in my book, no single chapter in my book, and there are 91 chapters in my book. No single chapter is longer than 3 pages. So if you've got good solid 8th grade education. You can be in and out of the bathroom during a commercial, come back, not miss a play, and read a story, and come back edified.
It's really good. Hey, my pal Denny, who's read, I think, 3 books in his life, read yours, and he loves it. So there you go. That's an endorsement right there. Dennis Malloy, love that book.
Thank you.
Me, not a big reader, but this is a good one. Hey, Bob, before we finish up, it is Halloween Eve. And so I tipped you off to this. I'm just wondering, who are the 3 or 4 scariest guys you got to watch up close during your decades on the sidelines?
Let me refer to my notes.
Okay.
Historically, Deacon Jones was a force of nature. Deacon Jones invented the head slap. Carl Eller picked up on it. So did several other defensive ends in that era. It's now totally illegal. You can be thrown out of the game. You can be taken out and shot if you do that. But back in the day, it was a deadly maneuver to allow Deacon, as he said, quoting Muhammad Ali, just to get the advantage, just to put it out there, sting him so I could get by him. Deacon was a force of nature. Dick Butkus, my stars. I mean, Dick was.
Look at that quote.
When I that's in my book. I quoted him directly with that.
There
Dick was, Dick just, when the Bears drafted Dick and Gale Sayers in the same round back in 1964 or 5, not sure the year, I'd watch Bears games on television. They played the Steelers once, and there would be this muddle of people, and all of a sudden, whoosh, and boom, and Dick Hoke would go A over tin cups backwards, and that was Butkus. Butkus arrived angry. He arrived, and every time he hit somebody, he wanted to change the game. He wanted to tell the offense, no, not today. And Dick was scary that way on the field. And then I had to go way back for this one, but I remember him when I was 8 years old because I was a fan of the Detroit Lions because they were my electric football team. Dick Night Train Lane, face mask, grabbing somebody by the face mask, and that was illegal, except against running backs up to 1962. In 1961, he was still allowed to do that and yank somebody and drag and pull them down to the ground. He was a scary person because he was a big, strong, angular, incredibly nasty defensive back. He was a quarterback for the Lions and, of course, a Hall of Famer now. And I have a long story about him that I'll tell on a different occasion because it involves other people. And
we got 2 minutes, Bob. So who are the more recent guy? 2 minutes.
More recent. Well, of course, Pittsburgh had Lambert, Count Dracula and Cleats. I gave him that nickname. There it is. That picture. And there was a sign on the stadium wall in Pittsburgh, Count Dracula and Cleats. When I saw that, I said, "My God, I'm an influencer before my time." I was affecting popular culture. But I got to know Jack very well, and Jack was he was just an intimidator. Played it clean. Everybody thought Jack was dirty. No, not so much. However, in his very same locker room was somebody even scarier, Mel Blount. I walked in, sat there one day waiting for all the, and this was in the late 70s when they were still Super Bowl champion type people. When Mel walked in, there was a silence in the room. Jack walked in smoking a cigarette, and hey, Jack, hey, well, Jack was friendly and outgoing. Mel was just like a dark cloud moving through. The 5-yard rule is the Mel Blount rule. Mel just completely could dominate a smallish wide receiver at the line of scrimmage and not let the man get downfield because he would just knock the hell out of him at the line. So Ronnie Lott, Ronnie was from the San Francisco 49ers. In Cincinnati's Super Bowl with San Francisco, the first one, he just hit dude who did the little dance. Help me out here.
Icky Woods?
Icky was taking control of that game, and all of a sudden, Ronnie came up there on a hit, read it, ran the right gap, knocked him, and game over. The Bengals were never the same after that. And,
LT. Tell me about LT.
Well, Lawrence changed the sport. Lawrence changed the sport offensively, defensively, and how teams drafted. He came in 1981. He came off the edge. Bill Parcells told him, if you don't know what to do, just rush the quarterback. and he was coming off the right side almost all the time. So he was basically decimating quarterbacks in the pocket, coming off the blind side. Literally, the hit on Ron Jaworski is still something that Ron remembers and everybody talks about in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Joe Gibbs invented the one-back offense to put a tight end or somebody of stature to slow him down and block him. And then, and of course, everybody wanted to draft the next LT. And here we are, 81. Let me do the math. 43 years later, I still haven't seen him. Sorry. I have not seen the next Lawrence Taylor. Yeah. And finally, I mean, Taylor just, teams changed their draft strategies, literally changed their draft strategies. Defensive coordinators would, bring in people who could play outside linebacker in 3-4 defenses, odd man defenses, to find that next LT. So his impact across the sport was, and I think when NFL Films did its 100 best players of all time, LT was top 5 and deservedly so, and was the top defender in that group.
Bob, we got a wrap.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, Bob. Thanks for good.
Talk to you soon.
Be well.